guys. Here we have the 1970 Colt Detective Special. Got it in a silicone gun cloth to protect the bluing from deteriorating too fast. But we got the gun there. We'll just make sure that it's unloaded. You can see that it's unloaded there. Oops. There we go. Alright. So, the 1970 Colt Detective Special was one of the last great pieces of American revolver craftsmanship. A time when Colt was still relying on people like master gunsmiths to go ahead and meticulously grind down the components to make sure that the break was crisp and everything. Compact steel revolvers were still being made by skilled hands rather than automation. They were trusted by detectives, federal agents, plainclothes officers around the country. This specific model was introduced in 1927 as a shortened variant of the Police Positive Special. The Detective Special evolved through decades of real-world use by, real detectives, real police officers, and everything like that. So, by the second series, 1970-ish, it had become a refined, purpose-built revolver that sat right at the end of Colt's traditional manufacturing period, before cost-cutting and machine-driven processes began to replace the hand-fitting and, that gave these guns their legendary smoothness. I'll break the trigger real quick just so we can see it. Ooh, really smooth there, like 3.5 or 4 pounds of break on the single action. You can feel it whenever you pull it. I mean, the craftsmanship. The double action is kind of long, but it's fluid without the stacking common in later revolvers, and the single action break is crisp and light thanks to the hand polished engagement surfaces that were individually fitted by those gunsmiths who understood that precision was achieved not just through tolerances, but through deliberate human refinement of every contact surface. The 2-inch barrel, while small, solid steel frame, it's a 6-shot cylinder, which made it better than a lot of the main competing gun at the time was the Smith & Wesson, and it had a 5-shot cylinder. There you go on that. But while the steel that was actually used in the 1970s era was kind of harder and more brittle than later alloys, but it contributed to the gun's durability and long-term reliability under stress. It doesn't do the whole plus P ammo of today, so it's more like the 1970 law enforcement relied heavily on the 38 special ammunition, like 158 grain lead round nose going 750 feet per second or something like that, though hollow points and semi-wad cutters were becoming a whole lot more common in that era. Even with the short barrel, the Detective Special still delivered 800 to 850 feet per second with standard ammunition, making it surprisingly effective at a typical defense range of 7 to 15 yards, where that's where most gunfights were occurring anyways. But it's also got this Bianchi holster down here, which, I mean, super fun to use. It's kind of an over the waistband. You don't put on your belt. You just hook it on your waistband there, and it's really surprisingly concealable. But the leather is really good for being a 40-year-old leather holster, and the gun looks just perfect. I mean, both sides, you got the crisp Colt emblem there, and man, it's just the prettiest little thing I've ever seen. No, just kidding. But it does shoot remarkably well. The 38 Special is, first of all, because the frame is fixed and it doesn't have a slide that reciprocates back, it doesn't have the snappiness of like a 9mm, like a semi-automatic of today. It is really mild to shoot. I mean, I've got a 380 and it's snappier than the 380, honestly. And I think it's got a little bit better ballistics. I think 380 is like at 700 something or something feet per second. I'm not sure what the muzzle energy is. I would have to look that up. But you know, just this gun is really cool. I mean, today collectors and practical shooters alike prize this gun for their quality, historical significance as artifacts from an era when gunsmithing was at its peak. And you know, there's not so many that are in this really clean condition like this. Unlike a lot of vintage firearms, a well-maintained Detective Special remains, fully capable as both a practical defensive tool and a beautifully preserved artifact that still delivers a precise trigger break, a smooth action, reliable performance, everything that made it legendary that back in the 60s, 70s, and before, back even all the way to the 20s, back in the noir films and everything, because these were super popular back in the movies and everything, back in Casablanca and all that kind of stuff. But anyways, I appreciate you guys watching my video, and I hope you all have a great day.